Hello, this is Dr. V again with another episode of the Burnout Show. And today we have Angela with us. And actually, Angela, I'm not sure how to introduce you because you do so many things. You're a wonderful entrepreneur. And I've met you because you introduced me to wonderful supplements which have helped me personally maintain a level of energy that a lot of people look at me and think, how can you do all of these things and keep on going? Because I am a sole parent of 3, I do work full time, and I have multiple other businesses that I manage during the weekend also and at night. So I am achieving a lot, and partly I think it's because of your supplements are so wonderful to help people maintain their energy levels, right? So please introduce yourself and tell us how you got into this and why. What is your story?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so thrilled to be on your show and to be able to talk to all of your listeners and viewers. So, yeah, it was so thrilling to meet you. And last time I was in the UK, I came up to Wales and we met, and it was so fun to see you there. It seems like a long time ago. Of course, nobody's traveling very much now because I now live in Australia. So I'm from the UK, moved out to Australia 10 years ago, but we have a US company. So in 2014, I traveled to Norway, took 3 of our team as a result of discovering this remarkable, rare, natural ingredient out of Norway. And I did a lot of due diligence. We're very thorough in what we do, and tried it for myself and had our biochemists and so on really investigate it. And I was so impressed with this that I flew to Norway and met the patent owners of it, and eventually agreed that we would make a formula with this particular ingredient. And we were committed to 3 things really. One was to use the genuine ingredient, and secondly, to use it at the correct clinical therapeutic dose, and thirdly, to sell it at an honest price. And you might think, well, those things sound obvious if you're going to make a supplement, but I tell you, in the supplement industry, it's actually very rare. And the reason that I got involved was because it wasn't possible to find this ingredient at a stated dose at all. There were lots of people using the story of it and selling it, but nobody really actually stating the dose, using the correct dose, and therefore just using it for marketing spin, but not providing the service. So 2014, we founded our company, started off with 1 formula. We now make 5 different formulas. We manufacture in the US, we import it into the US, manufacture in the US, and provide it to people all over the world because of these life-changing results, and has 2 particular modalities that serve people.
Yes.
And because we've always been committed to doing the right thing, genuine ingredient, correct clinical therapeutic dose, and selling it honestly, we've now been granted exclusivity on it. And so we feel a huge responsibility to make sure that people know that this is an option for them to take.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about YTE, because that is like the miracle ingredient you're talking about. It stands for young tissue extract. And tell us a little bit how that works, and then also how it can help people who have burnout or fatigue.
All really good questions. So YTE, as you say, stands for young tissue extract, and it was first discovered by a legendary Canadian doctor more than 90 years ago. And it was subsequently picked up by the Norwegian government sometime later, who did a lot of tests and clinical trials very successfully. And then it was, the rights to it were bought by a researcher and a doctor, and who teamed up to buy this from the Norwegian government and make it available commercially. And it's a very unique ingredient because it's actually made from chicken's eggs. So in Norway, they don't have an issue with salmonella in eggs as most countries do. And these particular chickens free range in the pristine forests of Norway, eating all of the botanicals and the herbs and so on. And the eggs are collected as normal as you would for an eating egg, but then they're very different because 10 hens run with one rooster, as you'd say in the US, or cockerel you'd say in the UK. So they're fertile. But with an egg, when an egg is fertilized, it doesn't come alive because it needs incubation to come alive. So with a human, when the sperm and the ovum fuse, that's inside the human body where you have the warmth and the right temperature, the right conditions for life to begin. So in a chicken, it's different, or any bird, because when an egg is laid, it's ready to be incubated, but until it is incubated, as in kept warm with the right humidity and the right temperature, nothing happens. But what we do with this ingredient and why it makes such a massive difference to human health is, you imagine an egg, a pure egg, and that's incubated not for a full 21 days. It doesn't become a chick. There's no chick. It's incubated sufficiently for the cells to become alive. And those cells to be at such a stage that they could turn into any cell. Stem cells is what we're talking about. And so these eggs are collected and incubated for 9 days. And at a particular point on the 9th day, that's when these cells are at their most potent. It's pre-chick, pre-embryonic, proto-embryonic. And through the process discovered by Dr. John Ralston Davison from Canada and subsequently developed by Norwegians, that nutrition, that live active nutrition, can be harvested and cold processed, so it's not destroyed, in such a way that it can be retained. So when you take that ingredient, you're actually ingesting cellular material that can manifest to transform your stem cells. And this particular ingredient has two modalities, as I mentioned before. This is why it's so exciting. Firstly, it balances your hormones. It enables you to balance your own hormones, and in particular, what's called the stress hormone, which is cortisol. And why that's so important is this. With our modern lifestyles, we have stress triggers coming at us 24/7 pretty well. And humans aren't designed to cope with that. We're designed to cope with a stressor and deal with it. And for example, we've all heard the example of, saber-toothed tiger or some life-threatening event. And what you would do typically, if there was a life-threatening event, is you'd run, and that running action and that fleeing or fight or flight, right? Yeah. So by that bodily movement, it would cause other hormones to flush the cortisol from your body. Yeah. Then you'd have a period of time where you weren't bombarded with more stressors continuously, but that doesn't typically happen now. You might be stuck in a traffic jam, or you might be at home watching the news or whatever it is, but typically we're much more sedentary, and we have a lot more stressors attacking us. And so what that means is that our cortisol levels are constantly raised. And because of that, the human body is very complex, and the brain and body are inextricably linked. Yeah, and the body says, sorry.
Because, I find it very interesting what you're saying, and there is actually a technique that we do with the journey. Is like we spend a whole time like shaking and moving and to get all the stress and even the old stress and the old memories out. But when I'm stuck in traffic and I feel tense, I still shake, like I just do like this. And also I found out I like shake it out like that. And also I found that singing helps, because that's also an action where you use a lot of air and you use your lungs, you use a lot of muscles. So singing out loud in the car and shaking it off in the car when you're stuck in traffic is perfectly fine if you can't run or exercise. But of course, the best thing to do is have some form of daily exercise to get that cortisol out of your body. Sorry for interrupting you. I just like...
No, that's perfect. I love you saying that because you're right, that really helps. But what happens typically if somebody has a huge shock or say is seriously injured, what happens? They get put on a stretcher and put in a bed and immobilized.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's absolutely necessary. Or if somebody has a terrible shock, what do we typically say? Being English, you'd say, oh, sit down and have a cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you need to flush that cortisol from your body. The trouble is, that's fine if it's a one-off. But with so many stressors now, almost continuously, whether it's about COVID or finance or family issues or work or traffic or global events or whatever, that it's really bombardment. And so this particular ingredient, as I said, two main modalities. One, it enables you to balance your own hormone levels, and in particular cortisol, and there's clinical trials proving all of this. And it's so vital to get the cortisol under control because the brain and body are so clever that if your cortisol levels are elevated, your brain goes into survival mode and says, you just need to focus on being hyper alert now and hyper vigilant. And therefore, I'm going to switch off everything else that you don't need because it's obviously a life or death issue because you've got your cortisol levels are raised. So we're protecting you. So you cannot sleep deeply while you have high cortisol levels because you're supposed to like to sleep with one eye open. So you're constantly alert. You can't digest your food properly because that's switched off in order to put all of your energy into being constantly alert. You can't heal cuts or wounds or internal issues because that energy is diverted into you being constantly alert. So all of those normal functions, digestion and sleep and healing and focus is actually transformed and put into you being hyper alert to deal with these threats. Now, obviously, you can't stay in that state of hypervigilance, and that's how chronic problems arise, whether it's autoimmune issues or whatever. So that's one way that this particular ingredient makes such a difference, is because your hormones are balanced, in particular your cortisol levels are balanced, therefore your body can actually function the way it's supposed to. The other thing is, again, clinically proven, it enables your stem cells to regenerate. And your stem cells can transform into any cells in your body, whatever is needed. And so you've got these two remarkable modalities of your hormones work, therefore your body can function properly, you can sleep, you can focus, you can concentrate, you can digest all of your nutrition, you can heal yourself, and your stem cells are enhanced and are functioning much better because you are actually absorbing this stem cell nutrition. So that's how it works. That's why I was so excited once I looked into it and verified everything. And I thought, well, why isn't this available to people? Why don't people know about this? And why can't they get it and know what they're buying? So that's why we set up our company, Health Evolution.
Yeah.
And provide these formulas. And it's grown from one formula to 5 now.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. And, I was a big fan of one particular formula that also has other ingredients in it, like ashwagandha. How does that work? Can you explain that to me, please?
Absolutely. So what we discovered, as in many areas of life, there's no silver bullet, there's no one-trick pony, and actually YTE works much better in different formulas with supportive botanicals in particular, such as ashwagandha. So when I went to Norway and I spoke with the with the owner of the company that was providing this YTE, I said, what if I was making one formula just to start with, what would be the recipe, and what would you say? And he recommended a recipe. We checked it out with our biochemist, etc., and that is Aminoboosters. we subsequently make different formulas because every body and every day is different, really. If somebody tries to say, oh, there's one thing that everybody can take, that's not going to be true, because some people have contraindications on a particular herb. For example, ginkgo biloba is one of the most widely used herbs in the world. It's very often adulterated and impure. So we're very, very careful with the ginkgo biloba that we source and use, and we again use it at correct clinical dose. But not everybody can take that. So if you're on blood thinning medication, for example, or epilepsy medication, or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, that particular herb, ginkgo biloba, is contraindicated. For everybody else, it's a brilliant herb, and it gets you fast results, whereas YTE can take, for some people, days or weeks to actually, for you to notice a benefit, but most people notice a benefit very quickly with ginkgo. So it's a very complementary botanical to take with the YTE. So we make a number of different formulas, and the one that you're talking about is called AMINOSERENE, and it contains ashwagandha. Now, ashwagandha is a very famous Ayurvedic herb. It's another adaptogen, which means it helps your body cope with stress more. But again, there have been a lot of adulterated versions of ashwagandha on the market. So what we use is actually a patented version. It's made by a firm called Stemcell, and excuse me, and it's because it's patented, I know, and my biochemists know, that what you think you're getting is actually what you get. It's very consistent, it's very pure, it has no toxins in whatsoever, and so it's actually going to function. So this formula AMINOSERENE came about because the brand owner of YTE said to me some years ago, Angela, you know, I love your Aminoboosters and your other formulas, but he said, I've actually made this formula and this is what I take every day, and it's brilliant. So I said, well, send me some. So he sent it over, and we tried it with my team, and I had it all checked out by our manufacturers and the biochemists and various doctors. And it's a really interesting formula. So it contains YTE. It's the only one of our formulas that is not at full clinical strength YTE. So it's really designed as a complementary supplement to one of our full clinical strength supplement, or for people who perhaps have been through the full clinical strength formula for a month or more, depending on what issue they were dealing with, and can now move on to AMINOSERENE on its own. Most people take it with one of the other full strength formulas. I do. I take two formulas every day. So it's ashwagandha, it's got Biopurine, which is a black pepper extract, again a patented version that enables you to absorb your nutrition a lot more. And it has the entire vitamin B complex. Now, it's very difficult to get the entire vitamin B complex at correct clinical therapeutic dose, but we include all of that. And in particular with the B range, B12 is very difficult to take in a bioavailable form. And that's why so many people, as they get older, have to go to their doctor for B12 shots, injections. And so those of us like me, perhaps, who hate injections, that would not be very popular. So our B12 is, again, a patented version. It's called Mycobalactive. It's from a very, very reputable firm in Spain. It's much more expensive than most B12. And so this AMINOSERENE formula with the entire B range, a boost of YTE, ashwagandha, Biopurine, also some L-citrulline, an extra amino acid there. It's just remarkable for serenity, hence the name AMINOSERENE. And so for calm and focus, I think that's one of your favorites. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And now, can you give us 3 tips for people who are listening who might have burnout or chronic fatigue, and they want to learn maybe how these supplements can help them, or whatever 3 tips you can give them, which they can implement straight away?
Sure. Well, firstly, I would say talk to you. I think, I honestly, because if you have an issue such as burnout or chronic fatigue, you need to talk to somebody who really understands the whole aspect, the holistic aspect of that. So first of all, find yourself an expert, not just someone who's going to be looking at pharmaceutical options. Now, we're big believers in integrated health and integrative medicine.
Yeah.
We look at all of cutting edge science combined with perhaps ancient wisdom, Eastern, Western. It's really about integration. Oh, and by the way, I should point out, we provide dietary supplements. We do not make any claims whatsoever to treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any disease. As a provider of dietary supplements, it's actually illegal to do so. So we're not making any claims at all about disease. But you asked about burnout and associated issues. So first of all, talk to somebody who really knows about it and has had success in finding solutions. Number two, I think, is really look into the mindset of it, because everything begins in the mind. And we now know through science how connected the brain and body is. Absolutely integral, absolutely connected. So mindset and how you're addressing all aspects of your life is vital. And thirdly, look to really take care of yourself, because it's a little bit like when you get on a plane, when we used to get on planes before COVID, and the staff would give you the pep talk about what to do if there was an issue, and they would always say, put your own oxygen mask on first, even if you're traveling with children. Put your mask on first, and then anybody else who's dependent on you. So life's like that in general. You have to look after yourself. You have to take the steps necessary. And if you've been providing for everybody else, whether it's through your work or your business or your family or your community, if you are getting burned out, then you need to take the steps necessary for yourself so that you can then be of service to those relying on you. And we've all got some people relying on us, whether it's, as I said, business or work or family or community or whatever it is. So I think those three things: find somebody that really understands it, really dive deep into the mindset aspects of how you can take care of yourself, and then really take the steps to take care of yourself. And of course, that includes rest, nutrition, which includes supplementation nowadays, the different kinds of exercise. But you have to be careful with exercise, because that can be a cortisol trigger, it can be a stressor. So it's about finding the sequence, taking that fresh advice so that you follow the right sequence. I think Shirley Conran, who was Superwoman years ago when I was in business in early days, I always remember she said, yes, you can do everything, but just not at the same time. And it's a little bit like that with healing and going on a journey to take care of your own health. It's about following the steps in the right order.
Absolutely. Well, I completely agree with that. And I would like to remind any viewers or listeners that I do have the whole holistic program available for them to go through them on their own time, whenever they like. And they can find it at www.burnout-doc.com. I'll put a link below again, and I'll also put a link where people can look at your supplements, and if they want to, and I highly recommend to try it, because for me, honestly, it's what keeps me going. I'm a big fan, and I've tried many. So thank you again for being on the Burnout Show and for all your wisdom and science, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Dr. V. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I would point out that people can get a trial bottle or bottles because we provide a 60-day money-back guarantee. And the other day, a large distributor said, okay, so I know what your returns rate is over time, but what's it been over the last 12 months? So we actually looked into this just last week. So I know the numbers off by heart. The number of people who ask for a refund are 0.004%. So it's virtually nobody. 0.004% ask for a refund. If anybody asks for a refund, we give them a refund. So so if anybody is thinking, oh, do I want to do it? I don't know. Can I trust it? I'm not sure. Is it going to work for me? You can just try it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, just let us know and we'll refund your money, because I'm so committed to making sure that people know that there are solutions for you. There are solutions for you to get on top of the world and you know, live your best life. That's what we're all about.
Yes.
Living your best life. So thank you so much for having me here with you today.
Thank you, and have a nice time.
Thank you so much. Yes, we're actually away ourselves on a health retreat for a week, which I've never done before. So it's such a treat. So I just I'm so pleased to be able to talk
it's
to you.
great that you walk your own talk there, because you were just talking about how you need to take care of yourself, and going on a health retreat is definitely on my bucket list also.
Yes, well, we're so lucky, but you know, life is so busy, and personally, we have 5 children, all grown up now. We have a number of businesses, but we live on an organic farm. You know, we grow our own fruit and veggies when we can, and we're pretty careful how we live. So it is about walking the talk, I think. Yes, but first and foremost, our supplements have made such a huge difference to ourselves as well as other people's lives.
All right. Well, thank you again, and enjoy it there. And
thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Thank you, Dr. V.
bye.
Keep up your good work, and thank you for all you do to help people, because so many people need your help now, and I know you've transformed lives. So thank you so much for what you do. I can't recommend you highly enough.
Thank you.